Hindus. For sure. So let's begin our session with the Surah Al-Fatiha, maybe to get the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today's session is about a presentation. There will be 4 presentations, and each participant will be given 15 minutes and followed with discussion. So first, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Zaid to give any opening remarks.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Reimagining Islamic Economics and Finance course, and this sohbah, this gathering, this companionship. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our fasting and qiyam and siyam and all our good deeds, inshallah, during the month of Ramadan, and hopefully it will propel us to become better Muslims and better human beings, inshallah, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decide for us to either to be blessed with another Ramadan or to be with him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is, we welcome you all back here. And my quick remarks is, again, if I put it sometime this way, if the Maqasid Institute was to succeed in one thing, then that should be connecting the Ummah with the Quran Kareem, and discovering just different, better way, deeper way of understanding the Quran Kareem and activating the Quran Kareem in our own personal life and in the affairs of humanity all around us. And that is simply going back to the first thing to be revealed, verse side to be revealed of the Quran Kareem is Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. So that is simply going back to that very first principle. And then the manifestation of this principle is incredible once we use some maybe simple tools, which is like this, paying attention and connecting the dots. Then the blessings of the Quran Kareem opens at a level that we have never before perceived. So if we're able to do this, then alhamdulillah, that we have succeeded. Everything else is a commentary. Let's say this is the core thing that we're trying to do, and everything else is commentary around that. And this is something that even Sheikh Jasser suggests, that don't take anything that he says like a law or like this is set in stone. He said, this is my ijtihad, this is my best thinking. You take what I learned from what I've benefit from something I said, alhamdulillah, you add to it, you critique it. That is just the natural order of things. Just the goal thing, the most important thing is to connect with Al Quran. So it is, and then really it starts with Surah Al Fatiha. I find that Al Fatiha, subhanallah, is the truly miraculous because every time I bring a question, I have a challenge or a question, whether at personal level or professional level or community challenge or global challenge, I find the key to the answer is in Al-Fatiha, which is literally either like part of the name of the surah, either Muftah is key, Al-Fatiha is opening. It is the opening chapter to what we are trying to discover. And the rest of the explanation goes throughout Al-Quran Kareem. And this is just really the one thing that, inshallah, I hope you have been able to discover for yourself during the month of Ramadan. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whatever you were able to discover or have a taste of during the month of Ramadan, you will be longing to this taste, to this experience the rest of the year. Some ulama Rabbaniyin, they would say that they say seek the thirst. So remember that thirst, remember that experience, that beautiful sweetness of Iman, that beautiful, wonderful sweetness of connecting with the Quran Kareem, and seek that, or remember that experience and seek it and keep it in mind, inshallah, and be obsessed with it, so that inshallah keeps you moving and motivated بعونه تعالى for the rest of the year inshallah, the rest of this journey. جزاكم الله خير. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
Jazakumullah. Thank you so much for this refresher. Next, Dr. Ildus, if you have some remarks, we'd love to listen.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has revealed to his servant this book, and there is no crookedness in this book. Subhanallah. And actually there are many epithets, there are many names of this book of Allah. And we know that it is An-Nur, it is also Aziz, Majid, Mubin. It is an open book, and it is opening, and it is explanation for the many stories and ayats that are contained in there. And also it is Kalamullah, of course, and it is also Hablullah. It's a rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is actually ordering the human beings, us Muslims, to وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. So we're supposed to hold on to the rope of Allah in the form of this book. And also it's al-urut al-wuthqa. It's something that is very a strong connection. So bearing in mind all of this and many other epithets and names of the book of Allah, we decided to have this Ramadan exercise just for you and for us, of course, for all of us, to think and contemplate, to read this book of Allah and seek guidance, because it is Al-Huda, and seek guidance from it, and also seek some answers to whatever questions that we might have, and specifically with regards to the economic phenomena. And there are many, and I guess we will see in the presentations today, and as well in the presentations that have been submitted so far. We've seen that really you can cover many things by reading the Quran, by reflecting on the ayats, and so it's a good thing that alhamdulillah, you've connected today, logged in today, and I guess we will have we'll listen to the presentations, and we will discuss these presentations, inshallah. So thank you again. Thank you for the logging in, joining this program. And so may Allah bless this session and all the rest of the sessions, and whatever you do and we do, inshallah. So thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much. So without further ado, I think we should start our presentation. So each participant will be given 15 minutes. So first in the list is Brother Mahdi. Are you ready to share the slides? Let me give you the privilege to share the slide.
Okay. Just for the sake of the participants, also after each presentation, we can have like 10-15 minutes discussions, if you like. All right, so that we have 4 presentations today, and after each presentation, we can have a few minutes, like 10-15 minutes discussion.
I don't have access to the screen sharing.
I'm just giving it. Let me. I cannot see how to make you admin, because the admin has a privilege to share the screen. So let me just find.
That's why I sent my presentation yesterday. So in case you have problem, maybe you can share if you have it on your computer.
Okay.
Now maybe I can share it. Wait a minute. I think it's share the screen, share the PowerPoint. If I do that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's working.
That's perfect. Alhamdulillah. So, okay. Now it's F4, F5. As you will see, I don't use PowerPoint. Okay. Bismillah. So you see the slides. Can I remove that on the slide? Okay, is it good?
Yes, you can see
Yes,
from.
how can I? Bismillah. Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم. So my name is Mehdi, and so it's a pleasure, to be the first presenter and to be part of this classroom with all of you. So just a 1 minute disclaimer here. So I will have 15 minutes. I don't have the time. Okay, so I have until 10:30, inshallah, time here. So just a quick disclaimer here. As I mentioned last time, I've never taken any class in Islamic science or Islamic economics. And so I've been trained as what I call a neoclassical scholar. And so I just want to bring some critiques about what I do on my daily life here. So the title of the presentation is called The Islamic Principle of Work and Cooperation in the Production Process. So why the production process? Well, I'm more interested into the micro component in microeconomics. And obviously we have two parts, the consumer and the producer. I think that I wanted to emphasize more of the work ethics, the work side of the economy, and hence the work side is more tied to the production process. But I'm going to touch a little bit also on the consumer side, because as you know, firms or activities, industries, when they make profits, they rely also on the consumers. So the whole idea of this presentation here is to, I'm going to start by, portraying what do I expect to see in an ideal Islamic society. So in terms of work, I would assume that individual would pursue occupation that align not only with their intellectual and personal interest, but also their spiritual aspirations. And so this alignment between work and personal aspiration, personal fulfillment will contribute directly to their society, to the community, while nurturing the individual growth, individual fulfillment. So as mentioned in the Quran, Surah Baqarah, ayah number 148 here. So I'm just going to do a few citations, inshallah, just for the sake of time here. But in this ayat 148, Allah mentioned that then you have to strive together toward all what is good. Wheresoever you are, Allah will bring you together, for Allah has power over all things. Okay. So it's just showing that the importance of promoting good and righteous deeds here. One of the key concepts I want to insist in this presentation is this idea of cooperation. Okay, so cooperation is really central to my argumentation here. And we're going to see at the end, I'm going to try to tie that to this concept in economics with this idea of just price, and see how cooperation is tied to the concept of just price here. But cooperation here all across Quran is encouraged, not only for activities that are socially beneficial, but also to make sure that we encourage each other toward good deeds and discourage each other towards harmful ones. And so again, there are quite a few ayahs in that direction here. I'm not going to cite all of them, but this is this ayah 113 in Surah Imran here. I just said, like, hasan, you have to hasan in all good works. Okay, hasan in all good works. So the Quran really emphasizes the significance of labor and spiritual value in productive work. So in Islam, I mean, as Muslim, we should not tie labor only to financial gain, but also labor to what it means for society. What is this contribution when we work to society here? And so the next few slides here, I want to touch base a little bit on, to what I see as the difference between Islamic economics and neoclassical economics here. And I want to start with just a small snippet of of what we mean by neoclassical economics here. So as you know, we have like consumer and producers, and the whole idea of consumer is to maximize utility. And so we want to make people believe, consumer believe that they're going to be happier if they face lower prices because they can consume more. And when they consume more, they can have like higher consumer surplus, and therefore there is higher social surplus. On the other side, there is the producer side, and you have the same story. We can assume that the producer will be happier when they have greater revenue or lower cost, and hence, you know, if the aim of the producer is to maximize profit, then they're gonna try to minimize the cost and maximize the revenue here. So we understand here through that lens that consumer and producer in this dunya are just trying to maximize the utility and profit here. And so it's gonna really sometimes distort the society to fulfill this requirement, to fulfill this aim of, you know, maximizing profit and utility. As opposition, I mean, as I see in Islam, with Islamic principles, we have this idea of spiritual fulfillment in work. When you work to earn money, obviously, but for the sake of, you know, the community, your family, to sustain the whole Islamic ecosystem here. And there is also some communal obligation, what we're going to be calling later Fard Kifaya here. So labor division, you know, what we call in neoclassical economics, even in classical economics, labor division here, it's not harmful per se here, but the idea of labor division is just, from a neoclassical perspective, is just to have a more efficient allocations of resources. Having some skills, obviously, is good even in Islamic societies, but we use those diversity of skill sets, and we use labor division try to fulfill the needs of society from an Islamic perspective. Hence, you know, again, we have this communal obligation, what we call Fard Kifaya, that must be sustained, whether through individual contribution, individual work, charities, government, waqf. So waqf is a central part here to fund like public amenities and services that has to be observed in any society. So based on those just your observation here, we can see that in neoclassical economics here, because of division of labor, very often workers feel undervalued and disconnected from the significance of work, especially when they have very repetitive work, where they see that society, their resources is being fully extracted to its maximum. So there is depletion of resources. The production, when the aim is only to produce more and more goods, you know, we are losing significance of the value of work here. And so from an Islamic perspective here, it's very important to step back a little bit and understand why we produce things. And so this is one of the first set of principles. What I want to talk next here is about the main concept I've read in Quran, especially in Surah Baqarah, about this concept of cooperation in economics. Because as we've seen in the production process, from a neoclassical perspective, everything is based on competition, maximizing profits. When I read Quran, it's more about cooperation, how people, when they work, when they act, they can help each other, they can contribute to each other, they can contribute to society. So there is those principles of ta'awun, which is the principle of cooperation that foster mutual support, solidarity, for societal harmony. Same thing with the well-known concept of maslaha, or collective welfare. In ayats, for instance, like 264 in Baqarah, Allah said, like, sailing of ships through the ocean for the profit of mankind. So profit is for the whole of humanity and not only for individual. And we are warned against individuals that only seek profits based on rivalry. So this is what the ayah 102 here in 102 in Surah, I think Surah Baqarah here. The mutual rivalry for piling up diverts you. So Allah warns us against rivalry and piling up, you know, hoarding goods here. So cooperation here is really at the heart of the system here. So there are also two other concepts I've went across a lot in Surah Baqarah, which is obviously the concept of ummah, where similar to the maslaha, the concept of ummah make us believe as some types of communal purpose, where the concept of brotherhood and unity is very central. And then the last one, which is somewhat less related, is the concept of mithaq, the covenants. And so there is what I see as the primordial covenant in Surah Baqarah between Allah and Bani Israel here. But there is also the covenant that we take in our everyday life between each other. There's those agreements, contracts, and promises that we must fulfill. So Allah really keeps reminding us that when we take an oath, when we write down a contract, we must fulfill it, especially in Surah Nisa. There is a lot of between men and women. There is a lot of covenants or contract happening here. So just to conclude here, I just have a few minutes left here. I want to emphasize the idea based on cooperation and based on mithaq and transaction here, so that we have to be fully transparent and fully fair when we are involved in transactions. And that leads to me to this concept of just price. Okay, when you are a seller, when you are a consumer here, you should not try to abuse the other side. And so the concept of fair exchange, fair transaction, absence of exploitation is very important in the ethics of Islamic economics here. And so I think there are in Surah Baqarah, ayat 82, 81, Allah said, those who seek gain in evil and are surrounded by their sins, they are the companions of the fires. In it shall they remain. But those who have faith and work righteousness, they are the companions of a garden. Also, Allah in Surah, the same ayat, same Surah, but ayat 275, Allah said, trade is like, people, they say, trade is like usury, but Allah has permitted trade and forbidden usury. This is just to remind us that there are actions in your daily life. There are transactions that are prohibited to us, especially in the concept of riba. And so fairness, ethical conduct is really key here in all our transactions. So just to summarize here, as I mentioned, unlike neoclassical economics, which is based on competition, Islamic economics should be based on cooperation, especially on the producer side. We have multiple examples, century or even 1,000 years ago, in Islamic countries, you can in the guild system where merchants, where craftsmen were between master and artisans, they were exchanging the best worker, they were exchanging the best artisans. So the whole guilds, the whole association of producers can strive together. They were not competing with each other, but they were helping each other. So this idea of fairness, ethical conduct is really at the heart of Islamic societies. And so when you take any economic classes, when we try to make you believe that having lower price is best for you, is better for your satisfaction, is lower, maximize utility, to me is just wrong principles. Every time we telling you, well, if you have lower price, you can consume more, we should ask ourselves, why do we need to consume more? And ask first myself and my family here. Is this really what we're striving for, to have more and more goods, more an accumulation of wealth or accumulation of things that we don't need, just for the sake of for the nafs and to live in this dunya? So I think we should understand that there is a just price behind everything, and we should understand the value of things the value of products when we try to acquire some things. And again, respect both sides of the agreement, the sellers or the buyers, is really key to our Islamic teaching here. Again, so that's it. Again, I'm not an Islamic scholar. If I say anything right, it's from Allah, and everything is wrong is from myself. And Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for sticking to the time and a very comprehensive presentation. The floor is open for question and answer or any discussions.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah for your presentation.
I don't hear anything.
Can you hear me?
I can hear him.
I can hear you fine.
Brother, can you hear me? Olivia?
I'm sorry, I have a problem with my mic.
Yeah.
Just let me know if you can hear us.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
No problem. Jazakallah for your presentation. Just a question, from a microeconomic point of view, do you see factors like supply and demand and, marginal cost and marginal, revenue as economic science? Or do you see that as something which is linked to a particular viewpoint?
Well, so that again, I'm not an Islamic scholar. I'm going to tell you what I think. So you cannot beat the neoclassical system. It's meant to be optimized. It's meant to be optimum. So if you go through the lens, no matter what is going to be your argumentation, you will lose. Okay. Now the problem here is that they're trying to maximize the pie. They're trying to have the pie as big as possible and share it as in the most efficient way. Okay. This is mathematically proven that you cannot make anything better, but you have to be in the paradigm. You have to understand that accumulation of goods and services is what you're striving for. You want to minimize the prices so that everybody's happy. You want to extract as much as possible. So in that paradigm, yeah, they are probably right. But is this as Muslim as we want to do? When you go in the market, in the souk, do you really want to rip off the seller of goods? Is this really what you intend to do? Okay, or do you value the work? Do you value what they're producing? Do you trust what they do? Okay, there is no trust in Islamic economics. You trust the governments that are gonna put some regulation. What makes me very sad is when I teach, for instance, like advanced microeconomics, like antitrust regulation. Antitrust regulation is that we are pushing companies against cooperation because we call that collusion. Collusion, because as soon as companies start to talk to each other, we're going to see, okay, they're going to push up the price against the consumer. This is illegal. Okay, so the whole idea, the whole society is based on against, cooperating with other firms because we are suspicious of cooperation. So this idea of just being self-oriented, whether you're a consumer or a producer, is very, very harmful, because you're just thinking, well, you can only rely on yourself and maximize your own utility, maximize your own profit. Don't rely on the others, because if you do that, actually you're going to be prevented to do so because we don't trust you in this type of behavior. And so again, we have to redefine the whole economic system from a micro perspective. Okay, again, I'm not an Islamic scholar here. It's just I've been teaching economics way too long to understand what are the deficiencies of the system. Again, it's fully efficient. You cannot deny that. Okay, this is fully efficient. So if you try to say, no, with Islamic economics we can do better in terms of money-wise, in terms of allocation, well, allocation again. I'm going to stop here.
If I may, the only thing I would say is I don't see necessarily these things as mutually exclusive. I think as you pointed out, the allocation of resources is, I don't see it as ideologically linked. I think this is something which is natural. So you are always going to have firms in any economy that will want to maximize profit, and they will minimize costs. This is just normal. This is just normal behavior. And so if they see firms which are not efficient, they will, they will up the game, and that has a effect on all the other firms who will also have to do that. I think so. I would just say that's just a norm of.
Do you think so? I would love to have a society where I care about my competitors. I would like to reach success as well. I would love to share my best worker with them so we can strive together.
Yeah,
as brother in the Ummah.
Yeah, if I just finish what I'm saying, I think so that's just natural. I think where there is some scope. So obviously, what you're talking about in terms of immoral or behavior which is frankly a thing that we don't agree with. This is where the ideology will come in, or the thinking will come in. I think there will need to be protection for certain types of activity. And I think that those things generally have to be protected. Fard Kifaya, there's not so many Fard Kifaya. So I think we have to prioritize as the economy in terms of where we really want to put those resources. I think specific policies around competition and around encouragement. So if you look at how does capitalist economies manipulate the market, well, they will give tax benefits for certain things. They will incentivize certain products. They will reduce the cost of certain things. This is where they're actually manipulating the natural course of economics. So I think, and that fundamentally comes from their viewpoint. So where do you prioritize things? Yeah, let's take this EV market. They are naturally they are abnormally affecting the pricing mechanism, because what they're doing is saying, well, if you produce these types of batteries, we will reduce the cost, we'll give you these benefits, you won't have to pay taxes, and so on and so forth. The problem there is not the pricing mechanism. The problem there is, what is the government prioritizing? And so I think in order to reconcile what you're saying, I don't have a problem with anything you said. I think everything you said I agree with. I would just say that there's some things are natural. I mean, this because you obviously teach this stuff, so I don't want to patronize, but I think some of this stuff is natural. I think the question then is, where does the government want to emphasize, and what does it want to intervene with? And I think this is where we need to have some clear interventions on areas that we want to prioritize, on cooperation that we actually want to prioritize, and the manipulation that we actually want to encourage, because every government manipulates. It's just a question of what they allow to be good, and that's just an issue of their view. So, Jazakallah khairan for your presentation. That's just my thoughts on the topic anyway.
And just to follow on from that, if I can, I think a lot of these presentations are going to come down to some basic definitions of economic principles that we have to reanalyze from an Islamic perspective, as opposed to forcing an Islamic or more Islamicized version of the system through force, or forcing competition or whatever it might be. And you brought up a few in your presentation that I thought were quite interesting. One being work itself. So actually, how does Islam actually view the concept of work itself? The capitalist view is, almost any activity that carries a monetary value. And, how do we measure the value of work? Is basically its profitability and its ability to generate revenue. But Islamically, we will look at other factors. We will look at the productivity of that work. For example, we don't consider gambling or trading in derivatives as work, because these are not productive activities. These don't generate productive output for society. They just generate they generate revenue, and so there's a different lens through which we view the concept itself, and I think that in itself will impact how society values activity and work. I think that you raise a concept of israf and excess. And there's just no comparable concept in the capitalist society, because more is always good within their framework, and that's just not something that we hold. And I think that's an underlying concept that we're going to see actually throughout many of these presentations. This underlying concept of limits and the existence of something called excess is something that I think runs throughout our view of economics. And then also this concept of just price. Now that's a difficult one, because actually the instinct is to almost intervene, have government intervention to achieve that. And I don't think that's, the Islamic system is non-interventionary by its nature. It's not a socialist system.
I
and
never say that.
no, yeah, you didn't say that,
Let's be
but
clear.
but in this, because this is price is obviously a discussion that comes up a lot, and often the knee-jerk reaction by a lot of people, and no, you didn't say this in your talk, is
Okay.
to almost adopt a top-down approach where we almost effectively set prices and almost a socialist type approach, which and I think this is why this is an area where it really needs a deeper analysis of how Islam actually arrives at the end result of just pricing, and looking at things like ownership of, so I mean, unfair prices often come through the monopolization of natural resources actually, and that is the origin of unfair prices in many cases, and Islam has a solution for that. So it actually gets to the root of the problem, and tackles it in that way without needing to intervene in the market, because the Islamic system actually is very non-interventionary in terms of the market itself. So I mean, let's just touch on some of the principles that you raised that I think are important and quite interesting. And just one final comment on this concept of competition and I mean, I don't know too much about this, but however, a hadith, I think it's a hadith, came into my head about not setting up a business next to your brother or something, or like effectively not directly competing unnecessarily. And so I feel like there is some differences in the Islamic view of competition, but I'm not. It's not something I've looked into in any detail, to be honest.
I think we have Brother Yasin Allah raise his hand, and then you lowered your hand. So if you want to go ahead, and I think we're about done with our 10 minutes, exceeded it already. So apology.
Yes, Brother Yasin, can you please make to the point questions?
Yeah. I just like to reflect on the aspect of cooperation, which is very much in line with Islamic principle. And so, like, just thinking, how do we see this cooperation in line with what's happening with Gaza? I mean, about ethics, what's ethical about humanity in the human economic activity. Like, I'm not sure up to what extent can Muslim country coordinate economically in order to stop what's happening. It seems that Western or like non-Muslim seems to be like more ethical right now, or more leaning towards the aspect of a human society in the perspective of boycotting, or in the perspective of raising the idea of not supporting particular products that seems to be complicit with what's happening. But I'm not sure if there are movements within the top level of like doing an economic, I'm not sure, activity or something, a sanction or something on the Muslim players in terms of economy. So just like, I just want to raise that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggybacking on what you said, I don't believe in the law of supply and demand. However, the whole system is trying to make you believe that works. If you see with Starbucks, McDonald's, when you stop consuming, everything collapses. If you stop your consumption, everything will collapse, because the system, the American system, is based on overconsumption. When people are going to stop consuming, the whole system is going to collapse. So be smart when you consume.
So I know Brother Mir has raised his hand. Where I think we really need to move to the next one.
I am okay with
presentation.
moving to the next presentation, although I just wanted to appreciate the presentation. I had a small question, but I can use that privately.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I post it in the chat, group chat. So this, Alhamdulillah, like Brother Olivier, I mean, this is, Alhamdulillah, you're on the right path. You started this journey. Inshallah, you'll continue it, and inshallah, we can have even a more focused conversation just on your presentation and just on the issues. I mean, that is possible. I mean, we don't need to put everything in this one presentation, but you raise many issues, like, the concept of kasb, earning, amal, and amal can be and fi'l. In the Quran Kareem, there's two terms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses, maybe one for useful, one for not useful. The concept, because when you talk about labor, it is labor as a verb and labor as a, as a noun. So these are the two ways that you can also understand the term labor. When it is the other as a noun, as a resource, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the term taskhir, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have taskhir for each other. So this is just opening words that you might find it in the rest of the Quran as you continue your journey, inshallah, through the Quran Kareem. You can see cooperation over public goods or public policy, like in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam and the king. He is in a non-Muslim system, but he is affecting public policy and he is helping everybody. That's because of the positive and negative externalities. There's the example of also of Dhul Qarnayn. He is asked to help, but he basically uses the labor of the people who needs the help to build the barrier. Again, it's a public policy. It is maybe there is a market failure, or if you want to use that terminology, so on and so forth. So just inshallah, you will further explore all these concepts, inshallah. And again, we can have a more, and this goes for you and everybody here. If you want to schedule time with Brother Ildus, myself, or with even the full group, we can even have a specific conversation, longer conversation on each one of these inshallah, discussion and presentation. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you. So our next presenter is Brother Sidrati Ali. Are you ready? Okay, sure.
How do I share my screen?
You go share screen on the bottom. Okay. And then you should be able to, I'm going to try to, okay, Sidrati Ali.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, some kind of spotlight on you.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So my presentation, just as a background, I'm not an academic, neither am I a scholar. I'm pretty much just interested in economics. And so this is just my readings and some reflections based on it. So my topic is the concept of mizan and qist in the economy, especially in its relation to our in our relationship with the environment. So if I can start here. So one of the things that I really love about Surah Ar-Rahman is this these few verses where Allah talks about raising the skies and then devising a measure, the mizan, and then from there he then talks about making sure that we don't transgress the measure and weighing things with equity, right? Before he talks about the earth and how the produce of the earth, like the fruits, the palm trees, the grains, and the other plants. So when I looked at it, my thought is that Allah does not, this arrangement that he has created, that he has done in these verses, is that there's meaning behind this. It's usually he would, in the various other places in the Quran, it's mainly the skies and the earth. But why does he put a measure, the mizan and the qist, in between the skies and the earth, in between the heavens and the earth? There must be a reason why. So one of the things on reflection is that this measure, this mizan, and that it is held by the KIST is alluding to a just economy. That without a just economy, we will not be able to that just economy is a key to that functioning of the universe and the fact that the maintenance of the earth and its all of its ecosystems in this case. So that was my reflection, and then I wanted to tease out in the first few surahs in terms of whether this concept exists in these few surahs, even though actually the word, and neither the word mizan or the word KIST actually exist in most of the surahs, except if I'm not wrong, KIST came up in An-Nisa towards the end, if I'm not wrong. But
Correct.
because of the short, the word limit, I basically focused on the first two surahs because if I were to go on to the third and the fourth surahs, I would have gone way over the word limit. So so this presentation is mainly on the first two surahs. So let's look at the Surah Al-Fatiha. So even though there isn't any actually direct direct link to economy, it lays the foundation. I think this surah actually lays the foundation for the economy that we need to build. That being what is that purpose of all of the Alameen, and which is the ultimate praise of God. And so if we, in order for us to therefore, as humankind in the Alam Shahada, that we need to uphold that purpose, we need to therefore be able to find a way in order to fulfill that purpose. So that's one. The second is, so beyond purpose, the foundation of all the worlds, the three that we've known of, and the one that we live in, which is the Alam Shahada, is mercy, because as we note already twice, in fact, the names Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim appears repeatedly in Surah Al-Fatiha. And then, of course, justice, which is very much linked to KIST, equity. And justice is implied when we talk about the Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner of the Day of Judgment, right? So if we take note of this, that these are the foundations of the Alameen, therefore any economy or economic principles needs to have these foundations as well. Foundations of mercy and justice, right? And then, of course, the next part is how, in order for us to live in this world, and what would be our relationship with God, and this is again the latter part of the surah, which is worship, and here when I reflect on worship, I go beyond just the ritual worship. This is my life, my activities in life, and therefore inclusive of my participation in the economy, right? And in order to live up to that purpose, that going back to that purpose of the ultimate praise of God, that in order from it links back to that element of worship. But I need, in order to do that, I need guidance from God. And so guidance is the underlying, so guidance through revelation, through signs, it underpins the whole system. So that's on Al-Fatiha. So it sets the foundation. And then the next in Surah Al-Baqarah, there are quite a lot of I think Surah Al-Baqarah has a lot of things, a lot of concepts. But I've picked up 3 concepts within Surah Al-Baqarah that I think is again related to Mizan, the balance, the measure, and to Qist, to equity. So the first, in fact, the very first, one of the first ayahs that has relationship with, I think, with economy is this verse, where we talk about, spending, who believe in the Alam al-Ghaib, who are constant in prayer and who spend out of what we provide for them as sustenance. So again, the concept of infaq, yunfiku, right? Why it's again, my reflection, why have God chosen the word infaq as opposed to sadaqah, right? So, because when we talk about spending for people, spending for others, we always think of sadaqah, but no, the word here is infaq. And it is very, very interesting that the root word of infaq, the trilateral is nun, fa, and qaf, and it connotes a selling and activity in the market. So basically, economic activities, right? So, and that's why I felt that there was that link to economy, and pretty much I feel that it's that economy therefore underpins this distribution system that would allow us to spend on to distribute the sustenance we've been given by God for others, right? So going back to the relationship between prayer, belief, prayer, and infaq, is the fact that from that verse, and of course throughout the Quran, sustenance is from God. So it's not us who gets the sustenance. It's not something that we produce. It is a gift. And out of that, there is a right of others on our sustenance. So it is not an optional thing. And so we need to be able to give others those rights. How do we do that? It needs to be equitable and it needs to be measured, right? And this this is only, we would only know this through guidance. And therefore, that goes back to that relationship. In order for us to be equitable, recognize those rights, we need to believe. I'll believe in God, I'll believe in the day of judgment and so on, the alam ghaib basically. It is that foundation. And then the prayer is that connection with God, right? So that's basically one of the concepts that I thought was quite an interesting one. Related to that, of course, here in this verse specifically, it doesn't say, who we need to spend it on. But later on in the other verses in Surah Al-Baqarah, there are various categories of people that we need to spend on, but also there's one more where they're spending in God's cause. Again, the spending in God's cause, I see it as not not a narrow definition of in da'wah or Islamic causes, but in ensuring that equitable and just society, being able to have that equitable and just distribution system, right? So that's my reflection on this one. And then in relation to this, going back to my interest of how Mizan and Qist is related to how
I think we lost Sister.
Oh, that's froze. Okay. Let's see. Nothing we pass also about 15 minutes or
I think she's rejoining maybe.
let's see. So maybe she will be able to catch of course, the recording as we move on.
I think we might be at the 15-minute point anyway.
Yeah,
Sure, yeah.
anyways, yeah. Just while she was talking, so I was looking at just a few comments to her shit, so she can inshallah catch it up in the recording. Again, it's a wonderful way of starting with a concern or something that she feels resonates with very closely, like Mizan and Qist. That is always a great starting point. And then you explore that throughout the Quran Kareem. And there's two places in the Quran Kareem, at least I was in my quick look, is that Mizan and Qist are mentioned together. The other place in Surah Al-An'am 152, أوفوا الكيل والميزان بالقسط. First time Qist is mentioned actually in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayat Al-Dayn. ذلك أقسط عند الله. And then the following surah, Surah Al-Imran, you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this very powerful ayah that maybe many know that شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة وأولو العلم قائما بالقسط. So that is definitely something that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, claims to himself, alhamdulillah. So no, that's and this idea of balance, this is a bit of a dynamic balance, and Sister Shidrat is coming. Yeah. So this concept of balance, because you can see heaven and earth is nothing is constant. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Shidrati. Welcome again.
sorry.
I was Yeah.
My internet connection died down. Was down. I guess I'm over the time. But I hope that's okay.
So I left some comments, like it's, you can catch it in the recording, inshallah, about just adding ayat and references that you might also like to pursue, inshallah, in your furthering the journey into the balance and qist. Just so my last comment, like, you know, there is this one thing is part of the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that there is nothing constant in this world. The only thing that is constant is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is like the one that doesn't change. He is al-qadim, he is the constant. Everything else. So here the concept of balance and qist, it's a dynamic concept. It depends on the situation, then qist might mean different things, or like the balance, the mizan might mean different things in different situation. Wallahu alam. So that's it'll be, inshallah. I wish that you continue researching this topic. And I think if we have, how much time do we have, Sister Ambreen? Do we need to move on, or do we have time for maybe a couple extra comments?
Yeah, I mean, after a 15 minutes presentation, there is 15 minutes for the PO&A. So if any other participant has any comment, I think would be welcome. And then if not, then we can move on to the third presentation.
Well, just very quickly, I think I can add to that I see that one of the most often recurred theme in the Quran, this is economic theme, I would say, is the concept that Sister Shidra Tichi mentioned it, the concept of infaq, the expenditure, and you see even for the just what yunfiqun, there are 20 at least 20 examples, but then there are other variations like munfiqun and infaq. So it shows that there are it is the primary kind of concern that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants people to really traffic and trade, and so that there is exchange. So it is directly influencing the exchange between people. So infaq, and of course there are categories of people who are supposed to be helped with the sadaqah and zakah, and also the sadaqah and zakah and others, the shara and bay', they're all under the, I think they're under the umbrella of infaq. I mean, all kinds of exchanges, they can be, it's like an umbrella term that encompasses all kinds of exchanges, whether in the marketplace or just any kind of the exchange between the members of society. So this is an important, I think, direction to look at, and all the variations, and what are the other concepts related to it, and also if you start looking at the orders, the commands, or maybe some of the universal kind of universal laws connected to it, try to identify those. So as we go through the course, inshallah, we'll talk about more about the methodology and how we can apply it to those ideas that we go through, that we study in the Book of Allah. So the interconnectedness is very important here, and looking at the purposes of each ayah that you look at, that you read it, and also connected to the ayats that come before and after it, and also connecting it with other ayats throughout the Quran. And of course, this exercise here really helps us to to connect the dots, connect the some of these concepts and objectives and values between each other, and build this framework, inshallah. So let's continue building the framework like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Idus. Our next presentation is Brother Daniel Hassan.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, assalamu alaikum to everybody. It's I think it's around 8 o'clock here in Pakistan, and I'm here in Murray. It's a hill station near Islamabad. It's quite chilly over here, and I feel sleepy as well. I don't know why. So I'll try to give a good presentation. Let's see. Okay, so let me do slide share. Okay, I think it's better now. Okay, so my topic is understanding technology in the light of Quran. And I call it a preamble. Why I call it a preamble? Because it is not a conclusive position or a statement. It's basically a start towards understanding technology in the light of Quran, and obviously in the light of Sunnah as well. It's the start of a journey, as I said. That's why I call it a preamble. One has to be reflexive. So initially, what I'm doing is I'm throwing out my biases. One has to acknowledge one's biases. My biases makes me think as well, but they are problematic as well. So a good thing was to initially identify those. So I'll start with Iqbal. Iqbal said that है दिल के लिए मौत मशीनों की हुकूमत एहसास मुरब्बत को कुचल देते हैं आलात. Well, it's in Urdu. I'll translate it for you. It basically means that machines, they kill the kindness in your heart. That's why probably Paul Goodman, again, a towering figure when it comes to philosophy of technology. He said that technology is a branch of moral philosophy rather than, of science. Now, why they are saying that? Well, we'll try to understand why they are saying that. But to answer that question, why they are saying that, initially, if you read my essay, I have quoted a legend from Plato's what you call dialogues, and it's called Phaedrus. Phaedrus is basically a dialogue between Socrates and Phaedrus. In that dialogue, Socrates basically tells a legend. It's basically a meeting of a king, Themis, who's an Egyptian king, and a god of invention called Theot. So Theot, what he does is he brings a lot of inventions in front of the king, and he presents those inventions in front of the king, and he's very enthusiastic and passionate. And he's saying that, I've invented geometry, I've invented arithmetic, I've invented this, I've invented that, and all of these, what you call inventions, they will greatly benefit the Egyptians. Themis, he's a very wise king. He analyzes all of those inventions. He criticizes certain inventions, but then he praises certain inventions as well. But in the end, he asked Theot that, it's a long list of inventions that you have. What you do is you pick the best and, present that. So what Theot does is he picks writing. He says, writing is a technology which I have invented, which will greatly benefit the Egyptians. And he says that it will make them really wise because it will greatly improve their memory. So because of that, they will become really wise. Themis tells him that, no, this is not the case, because an inventor is not a best judge of his invention. Because, he gives example of parents. Like parents usually attribute what you call characteristics to the kids, which they might not have. But since they love their kids, that's why they say, our kids have these qualities. So he says that this is exactly the opposite, right? Writing will, in a way, if I be a little harsh, writing will make you stupid rather than make you, we have to call, more wise. Why? Because because of writing, people would start relying on external sources. And when you rely on external sources, you basically, get used to semblance. And when you get used to semblance, then, you can be deceived, because anything which is dressed up in that, what you call particular thing, you would think that this is what the thing in reality is, like a wolf dressed in the skin of lion, So you would think that that wolf is a lion, but actually, that wolf is wolf. He's just dressed in the what you call skin of lion. So he says, no, writing would basically, and because since people would start what you call relying on semblance, instead of becoming more wise, they'll become more stupid. I'm sorry for using this word, but that's what the story actually meant. So, and it reminds me of the story of Imam Ghazali, when he was going back to his hometown Tus, from a faraway city where he was studying under certain scholars. And during when he was going back, he was basically what you call caught by certain highway bandits. They took everything and took Imam Ghazali's notes as well. Imam Ghazali said to the chief of bandits that you take whatever you want to take, but give me back my notes, because this is a knowledge which I have painstakingly what you call collected from the scholars. The chief bandit gave back the notes, but he said a thing which totally changed the approach of Imam Ghazali. He said that, what kind of knowledge is this that I took it and you lost it. So after that, Imam Ghazali started memorizing everything. So just to add, I just wanted to add through this story. So what is the point which I'm trying to make over here? The point over here is that, what kind of position should I take? Should I be a one-eyed prophet? Should I just close my eyes and, follow the bandwagon and start singing the song of technological entrepreneurship? Or what you call, I should take a position which is rather critical. Because if you listen to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he also says that technology is not neutral. He says that this is a naive view to saying that technology is neutral. Similarly, Allama Iqbal said that machines kill kindness. Jacques Ellul, another what you call giant in the what you call realm of philosophy of technology, he says that machines are antisocial. And if you read Neil Postman's book, Technopoly, he gives a very good what you call collection of case studies through which he's trying to build a case that technology is not neutral. I've quoted a case of an African tribe in the write-up. Plus, we are also, lately we are faced with this dilemma of artificial intelligence. The case of artificial intelligence is unique, I would say, because from the onset, it is not a technology which is dressed up in technological enthusiasm. It is what you call coupled with a lot of criticism. And criticism coming from those people who are the what you call pioneers of this technology. For example, Max Tegmark. So, I mean, from the onset, people are criticizing that artificial intelligence can cause a lot of and pose a lot of problems or challenges to humanity. So, what kind of position should I take? I mean, how should I approach technology? How should I make sense of technology? How should I understand technology? Well, Quran helps us over here. If you read Surah Baqarah, verse 120, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Jews will never be pleased with you, nor will the Christians, unless, wait, I can't see it. How do I do that? Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's visible. We can see it.
It's not visible to me because I want to read it.
No, I can. Yeah, subhanallah.
Okay. Okay, unless
you have,
I don't know. I think it says unless
say
you
guidance of Allah is indeed. Yeah.
Yes. So this verse basically tells me that I cannot just blindly follow what is coming from West, because right now the idea of technological what you call the idea of progress is very much tied to the idea of technology. It's one of the significant inputs as is argued in the economic development, which is tied to the myth of progress. So this verse is basically telling me that I should not blindly follow it. But then, I attach or I add another idea along this verse. That is, a hadith of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in which Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that, knowledge or wisdom is a lost property of a believer. Wherever he finds, he is most worthy of it. So the idea over here is that, I should not be blind I should be critical. However, if there is something useful for humanity, for Muslims, I should take it. So in order to do that, how should I, move forward? How should I approach things? Well, again, Quran, answers this, what you call urge which I have within me. If you read Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the book has no doubt in it, a guidance for God fearing, which means, Quran has guidance for us. Then in another verse in Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is how Allah makes verses clear to you so that you may understand. This is a very telling verse for me, I would say. Because if you see the sequence of the verse, it says, this is how Allah makes his verses clear to you so that you may understand, which means understanding is dependent on the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not that understanding comes first and the verse comes next or afterwards. It's the verse, is the Quran comes first and then the understanding comes. And if you couple it or if you attach it with the last, what you call surah in the slide, which clearly says that Quran is a guiding light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also saying in Surah Al Imran that Quran is the Furqan, it's the criteria through which you can judge what is right and what is wrong. So here I am, I'm trying to understand technology, and Quran is telling me through Quran, in the light of Quran, you can do that, right? So bingo, first what you call stage, what you call clear, huh? Second, then we come to technology, as to what technology is. If Quran is the guiding light and Quranic principles can help me to understand technology, so is there anything in those 4 surahs through which I can make sense of technology? Well, to start off, I think my reflections tell me that technology is primarily a means. There are 4 or 5 places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions technology, apart from naturally occurring phenomena. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned a lot of natural phenomena as well, but I'm not what you call referring to that natural phenomena, because I don't think that I should classify it as technology. That's natural phenomena. I'm referring to technology as something which is man-made, right? So if you read Surah Baqarah verse 164, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about ships through which you can transport goods. In verse 282 in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about writing, so that you can what you call transact and record those transactions, so that you can what you call maintain fairness and make sure that there is no injustice committed. In Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to mathematics, again a man-made thing. In Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to arms. And if you read all of these surahs, you realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to all of these technologies in such a way that there is, I think it's very clear that they are means, they are not ends. That through ships you transport goods which are needed by humans, which is good for or beneficial for humans. Similarly, you have writing, so that you can record things and you can make sure that the justice prevails in the society. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to mathematics. Again, if you can distribute wealth in a just way. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to arms, so that you can defend the Muslims, right? So all of these, what you call mentions of technology, are in such a way that it is very clear, at least to me, or it appears to me, that technology is an mean, it's not an end. Now the question is, if it is a mean, does it mean that it's all positive? Does it mean that it's all good? Is it possible that technology can be bad? Well, just relying on on these surahs and my reflection, I'm inclined to say no, technology can be bad as well. Because if you read verse Al-Baqarah 102, in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about magic. And you might be surprised why I'm referring to magic as technology. You have to look into the definition of as to how do you define technology. Technology is something, which enables you to achieve something. So through magic also you can achieve a lot of things, right? So that's why people resort to magic, to achieve something. So in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to the technology of magic, which is haram, which is not allowed in Islam. Anybody who indulges in magic, their destination is hellfire, right? And then in Surah Nisa, if you read, although not mentioned in a very negative way, but I would say that it gives you an impression that technology does have a negative impact on us, because in Surah Nisa, verse 78, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, wherever you will be, death will overtake you, even though you are in fortified castles. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to construction technology, fortified castles. So I was reading the tafsir of this verse, and Ibn Kathir, I think, he writes a story of a young girl who was born, and somebody said that, you know, she will sleep with 100 men, and then, you know, she will die by the bite of a spider. And the slave man at that time, he, you know, splits open her tummy with a dagger. But then he runs away, and her mother, you know, stitches that what you call wound, and then she's saved and she grows up. And in the end, you know, she got married to that slave man. When he comes back to the city, he built a strong castle for her so that, you know, she will be safe. So even the tafsir of that, if this surah, you know, gave me an impression that technology may have a negative impact on our faith, on our iman. We might start relying on technology rather than relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we might think that, you know, technology can save us from Allah's decree. But this is not the case. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, even if you're in a fortified castle, you will not defy death, you will die. So I get this impression that, you know, somehow technology does have a negative impact on our faith as well. So, I mean, based on these surahs, I would say that technology is not all positive. Technology can be negative as well. So it is a mean, but then we have to see whether it's good or whether it's bad, right? So we have to look into that. Next thing, which is very interesting for me at least, if you read Surah Al Imran, verse 40, it says it has been made attractive. Sorry?
15 minutes are over. Maybe you can wrap up quickly.
Okay, so in Surah Al Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made technology attractive for humans, because if you read this verse, talks about branded horses. Branded horses were a technology of that time. And in today's world, you know, we have branded cars, and we have planes, and even mobile phones. It's a mode of communication and travel. So, and we can see that it's common observation that people have liking for it, which means, you know, we do have a liking for technology. So based on this reflection, I conclude 4 things. I'm just wrapping it up, inshallah, within 2-3 minutes. Technology is a mean towards an end. The means are not inherently neutral. They could be harmful intrinsically, right? Which means we have to analyze whether the technology is good or bad. Humans are attracted to technology. Technology may impact our faith in a divine degree negatively. It can do that, right? So these are the 4 things which I have been able to glean out of this reflective activity which I have done so far. To conclude, I would say that technology demands a holistic view. It's not just that, you know, we can take out technology out of the context and we can say that technology is a neutral thing. No. Based on these points, which I have concluded in the previous slide, I would say that, you know, we need a holistic view when it comes to technology. And if you want to move towards the ontology of technology, we have to take a holistic view, as I said, and Quran supports that view. In An-Nisa 46, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, among the Jews, there are some who distort the words against their context, and say we hear and disobey, which means they're the ones who are taking things out of context, right? And in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah has cast his curse on them. So here Quran is telling us that we should contextualize things, and we should try to understand things in the context. Another example, or another verse which I would use to conclude, you see, in An-Nisa verse 119, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Shaitan challenged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I will make people alter the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see that, you know, through technology, it is possible. People are going for gender operations, you know, through genetic engineering, they can do that. Here again, we get this idea that we cannot understand technology just in a what you call neutral or isolated setting. We have to see technology within a context. And if you don't understand technology within a context, I think, you know, we'll not be able to develop right understanding about technology. In the end, what is a context? Well, I think this is called ayat-bir, ayat of virtue, I think. Okay. If you read the first line, it says righteousness is not merely that you turn your faces to east or west. Now, turning the face towards right or east, it's kind of a, what you call mathematical thing. It's kind of a, you know, technological thing. Where is the right direction? We use technological tools to, find where the direction is. So I get this impression, or, based on my inference, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling me that, technological advancement is not the main aim. The main aim is to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the books of Allah, the angels, and, be good to the people. We should analyze technology within this context. And if technology helps us achieve that, well and good. If it doesn't, then, we have to move away from that technology. Thank you very much. To be continued, as I said initially, that this is not a conclusive position. This is just a reflective activity. This is just a start. I hope, and I want to thank Maqasid for pushing me to do that. This has been an amazing experience. I would say I've never read Quran like that. I've learned that if you read Quran with the aim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to you. Thank you very much. Allah knows the best. And if there are any questions, I would love to answer to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a comprehensive presentation. If there are any comments by Dr. Zaid or Dr. Ildus. Okay, yes, Brother Yasser.
Jazakallah khair. So I guess I would start by maybe saying that I would probably dispute the use of the word technology in the way you've defined it here, because I think there's something called technology and there's something called the manifestation or the application of technology. And it seems to me what you're talking about is the manifestation of technology as opposed to technology itself. So in the same way as you could dispute with a particular book, let's say maybe Salman Rushdie's book, or for example, you might say I have an issue with that. That doesn't mean you have an issue with, with writing per se. The technology underlying what produced that book. And in the same way, you raised AI. Well, AI is a manifestation of certain technologies. Say take cloud technology for example, or the coding technologies that allow large amounts of text to be contextualized and understood by machines. So these are generic technologies, and to me they're not ideology driven. However, a manifestation of that technology in a specific AI tool like ChatGPT, that's an application of technology which is designed by people, and I think in the world we live in today, most applications of technology are Western, and therefore they have a Western flavor to them, which is why I think there is a natural, sometimes a natural suspicion of technology maybe amongst Muslims, but I think really the focus should be on application, and maybe Muslims could then focus on taking technology, which I think is generic, and discussing how we can create manifestations or applications of that technology, which is more conducive to the Islamic principles. So I guess that's just my contention, is maybe that it's a definition issue here that I would maybe dispute. But Jazakallah.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Just one thing is that technology does not necessarily need to be maybe an innovation in the sense of a machine or something, software. It can be also ideology or a globalization kind of concepts that can be used for the betterment of someone and for the to exploit some people. Like globalization is or any other thing like these. We should also think about the concepts, I think, that are used as a ideology that is also come under technology, maybe like it's something made by humans. Just
So this is as I think we will maybe explain with the Maqasid methodology again as a tool to help us put these concepts and these questions in place. We get to we call webs of meanings. Webs of meanings. So like you start with the word technology and try to understand it. What is it? What does it mean? How does it manifest itself, like Brother Yasser is saying? And how people are, looking at the purposes of this technology, the purpose of AI, the purpose of this and that. And this is where I do say, like, as Muslims, then we are sorely needed to contribute to this conversation. So talking about the AI debate, where are we? What's our position? What are we advocating? Something we were saying that's not just simply, so if we can, now we combine the concept of there's purpose behind everything, and there's a holistic view like yours suggested, Daniel, and there is future orientation. Where are we? If we follow this path, where are we going? And a lot of people are warning that if we just follow the current path, all the power or the stream is taking us to a potentially very dark place at the level of global peace, or at the level of just what the human being will be in the future. So this is all good meanings. Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy, for example, in your investigation, that you have noticed and realized different kinds of technologies, and that is really beautiful, because once you see that, and the Quran Kareem is really beautiful, like Sister Ambreen was saying, like our ideas. Then that comes in contrast with, like in economics, let's say we have the idea of creative destruction. This is an incredibly important concept here, and then it does not matter how it happens, or we leave the negative side effects of creative destruction to maybe to the public sector to manage the unemployment, to manage environmental degradation, and so on and so forth. So yes, so it is definitely a tool. One aspect I wanted, and of course, again, back to some of the ayat and surah al-Quran al-Kareem, we can see that أنزلنا الحديد, of course, it has in the surah of وعلمناه صنعة لبوس لكم, that we teach Dawood and Sulaiman new technology. Dhul Qarnayn, when he says, like, utilizing alloy, آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين, like how he was trying. So all you definitely can see this manifestation of innovations, or using taskhir Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. I wanted to add one last point, inshallah, and hopefully we open the door for others in fact, is that one thing I've noticed, that the value of human being, and this connects with economics, and that connects with also labor, Olivier. It seems that the value of the human being is measured by the technology of the time. So when we are in feudal age, then labor is mainly this manual basic labor. So you are compared to an ox, or and how it's tilling the land, and just how many hours of work you put exerting labor. So, and then you find even so the value of a serf, that's what you are. You're just a serf. You are one of living things that are helping. Once we go to machine age and industrial revolution, suddenly the value of being precise and repetitive became incredibly important. And that's how a human being is measured, division of labor, precise, repetitive nature, 6 days, 6.5 days a week, you continue to work. Then we go into information technology, then suddenly you are, ability to program and think very, very logically. Can you do that? Can you just compartmentalize and achieve goals? And now we're going to get into this AI. Suddenly we need to be creative, and to do multitasking, and need to bring things from left and right. And then at every time, the value of a human being and the labor we're providing is measured against the technology of the time. And if you notice, not only that, the toys our kids play with are all geared to make you a good laborer, a good contributor to the market economy. So now we just manage things remotely, play video games, but implicit in that is that you're managing drones, or you're programming, or you're managing multitasking, and the type of the games, like, force you to multitask, force you to work in teams, So it's forced you to deal with wide range of technology of like weapons or construction, whatever it is. So very interesting to see that happening, and that's why there is a civilization, and this is how it looks at humanity, and the value of human being is coming from just simply this technology. So it is incredible way to look at it. Inshallah, Akhi Daniel, you continue this journey. I'm very glad that you're doing this. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you and bless all your effort.
Thank you very much.
Just one quick comment, if I may.
Yeah, please, Dr.
Alright.
Please go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to comment that you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, throughout the Quran, both in Mecca and Medina, he says that lahu ma fi samawati wal ard, or lillahi ma fi samawati wal ard. So everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches man to produce something. So we can call it technology. But then everything is a test. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in order to test us. So الذي خلق السماوات والأرض ليبلوكم الذي خلق الحياة والموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. So the end and العاقبة للمتقين. So the test is here, who will gain taqwa. The technology as a means, and of course you mentioned it beautifully, that the technology is not neutral, and many scholars mention that that it's not neutral, but the usage of it and the fact that it exists and the fact that we are able to produce this, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that in it, in the technologies, in how we use them, it is the test for us. Whether it is fitna or whether it is a blessing, it's all up to us how we accept them, how we practice them, and of course they need to be looked in the context, and let's say whatever used to be in the past, like the technology as a writing. Then book printing as book printing as technology, writing as technology, and now the computer and internet technologies, and now another level is artificial intelligence. So all of these are part of the paradigm that we live in, and we are going to be tested by it. So all of that is, of course, we need to be able to connect these things with other economic concepts, like infaq, for example, and also other things that we can find in the Book of Allah. So it's interconnectedness of these things. And really the principles of kindness, the principles of infaq, and also helping people, and also the cooperation that also it was mentioned today by Brother Mahdi. So how are we going to use them all? It's all up to us. So we need to be looking at the bigger picture of all of this, and we don't need to really blame the Jews, blame the West, or anyone for that matter, but see what is good, what brings us closer to taqwa, even through the use of technologies, inshallah.
You're right, Professor. Thank you very much. I just want to comment on what Brother Yasser said initially. He talked about manifestation. Well, I would say this is a very difficult philosophical debate of identity as to what is the identity of something. Well, we cannot have self-serving breaks at certain points, that this is a manifestation and this is what the parts are. Because you see, I would quote Maulana Ayub Dehelvi. He used to be known as the Ghazali of his time. He used to say that there is only one entity that is not composed of any parts, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rest, we are all composed of parts. We are all manifestations. So if we start this debate that technology or AI or something is a manifestation, and if you boil down to the parts, every part is a composition of something. So this is an infinite regress. We can go till infinity if we start this debate that as to AI is a manifestation of something, then okay, let's go to the parts. Every part is a manifestation of something. And I think Sister Ambreen rightly pointed out that technology is not just sorry. Sorry?
We are left with 50 minutes and one last presentation.
I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry. I hands up. Sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry. Sign off. Sorry.
Let me give the floor to Brother Nabil for his presentation. Brother Nabil, you have 15 minutes. I hope we will be having some few minutes for discussing your topic as well.
Inshallah, I'll try to be quick. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I'll share my screen. I haven't made a presentation, so I'll be presenting from this Word document, but hopefully it will be able to summarize the things that I want to share. My topic was the jihad or priorities in Islamic economics. And through this study, I wanted to explore through Quran and Sunnah, through initial research without starting with the taqleed, without following anyone, just letting the meaning emerge from Quran and Sunnah, trying to understand if Quran specifies any tarjihat or not. So that was the objective with regards to this study. And the approach I took was that I studied Surah Al-Baqarah. I did not study all the 4 surahs in detail or the whole Quran, so mainly focused on Al-Baqarah. But then I complemented that by study of selected passages from the Quran through word search and topic search and so on, so that I could gain as much information about the economic side of things or economic concepts of the Tasawwurat in that regard. And then based on the above two, I then engaged into a humble tadabbur, trying to find relations, trying to find interconnections and so on, and seeing how these bits and pieces relate to each other. So this was the third step. But at the same time, I would like to acknowledge my shortcoming that I was neither able to fully assemble all the relevant ayat and hadith, nor I was able to fulfill the rights of the tadabbur. And inshallah, as the time progresses and as I do more and more of it, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give strength in that regard. So in summary, this research was done on a grounded theory pattern in which the webs of meaning emerge from the nusus, and then we see the themes and the interconnection and so on. There are some limitations of that research as well. One of the limitations is that it only is based on a portion of the Quran and a portion of Sunnah, so it does not is not comprehensive or exhaustive by any means. The second was second limitation was restricting ayat to certain specific meaning only. So I have used them to extract certain concepts from it, but we know that the depth of the meaning of these ayat is huge. And Ibn Masud Razilullah Ta'ala said that it's like a horizon, it's so big, each ayat. So again, we cannot fulfill the rights of it. So we have extracted some concepts and some meaning from those ayat. Then again, thorough examination of the Quran and Sunnah is required in order to fulfill the rights of this topic, which this research does not cover. So that's a disclaimer that more research and more tadabbur is required in that regard. Another thing is that what I tried to do out of this project was to create a flow chart of the interconnections of the themes and the tasawwurat and so on. And as the research progressed, I realized that it is extremely difficult to do so because there are so many different concepts and so many different themes, and finding their interrelation and plotting them on a flow chart, I really struggled with that. So I'll share with you what I have made so far, and hopefully it would make some sense, but again, more work would be required in that regard. Now, some of the key findings from the research. So I was trying to see and analyze the economic rulings or economic directions of the Quran. And one theme is very obvious, that the centrality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the economic system. So it's not about the trade and goods and so on. It's all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's at the center of the thing. And that's the sibghatullah, the color of Allah, with which we should color our life as individuals, as well as communities and nations. So this is a very frequently appearing theme, that it's all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not about any other things. And as one of like our brother mentioned, that it's not about the means, it's about the ends. So we have to reach Him and all the the paths and passages to lead towards him. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that those who are fair, they would be rewarded, and those who are deceitful, so they would incur the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it means that even if we are engaging in a trade transaction or in a buying something, we are buying something or selling something, still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be at the top of our mind. We should be fair in our conduct. We should not be deceitful, because so that we can earn the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the center of everything. And that should be the biggest tarjih or the biggest priority for us. So the paper is about finding tarjihat or the priorities. So that should be the biggest priority, to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then some of the groups that we have been able to identify through this research. So these are the 6 groups. And again, it's based on it's not a comprehensive list. There would be more as we go into the deeper study. But from my study, I was able to find these 6 themes: economics of charity and philanthropy, economics of trade and exchange, economic concepts related to lifestyle choices and thought patterns, prohibited economic activities, management of resources, including natural resources, and other avenues of economic activity. Now, with regards to these first 2 points are pretty interesting. So I could see different rulings for that. For example, in terms of charity, it's mentioned that they ask you about what to give in charity, and qulil af, that whatever is beyond your needs, give that in charity, which means give a lot. But on the other hand, so it means that it's a lifestyle of zuhud, it's a lifestyle of giving, it's the lifestyle of Abu Bakr and that for Abu Bakr, Allah and his Rasul are sufficient. So it is that lifestyle. But on the other side, we also see another parallel system in which profit making is encouraged, in which the X is prepared for a person and given to him so that they can go out and earn. So earning is encouraged, seeking the fazl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after the prayer of Jummah is over is encouraged, in which even selling during Hajj, buying and selling during Hajj is permitted, and so on. So there is another parallel system. So our teacher, Dr. Asrar Ahmad Rahmatullah Alayh, used to explain this beautifully, that Islam does not have one economic system. In fact, it has got 2 economic systems. So one of that is based on charity, the other one is based on trade and exchange, and they have got different rules among them. But the thing is that apart from these 2, we were able to identify some other things as well, as mentioned in here. So I'll show that in the flow chart. Now, the interconnection between various concepts and themes. So while researching, we identified that these things are interrelated. For example, when economics of trade and exchange, so if people make profit, what would they do with that profit? So from that, we know that it comes to the lifestyle choices, that we should not be excessive in what we are spending. We should not be showing off that we have got so much wealth. So this concept, number 2, then links to number 3. So there is linkage between them. Then again, once we excel in number 2, the trade and exchange and so on, then there would be production goods available. And then on those goods would be zakat. And then that would go into number 1 as well. So there is interlinkage between these different themes and the tasawwurat within them. The next aspect is, while we are analyzing this thing, so I had the lesson for myself that we should avoid the tajzi, that splitting it into parts. So we have to look at these things in a holistic manner and not be a victim of dividing things and the tajzi. And this point basically links with another important aspect, that the concepts or the tasawwurat within those themes do not stand by just themselves. They are linked to some other activity. For example, if we spend on our relatives, we get double the reward. From this, we know that it's not just about giving. It's also about the social side of the society, building social relations, building family relations, having cordial relationship between the members of the family. So it serves that purpose as well. So there are multiple maqasid within these, within many of those concepts. So that was another thing. So we have to look at these things holistically. It links, some of them link with social aspects, some of them link with political aspects and the aspects of state. For example, the collection of zakat and so on, and the role of state in that regard, and the role of state in distributing that and so on. It also links to the psychological aspects. It links to spiritual aspects, justice and judicial aspects. So all these different aspects are linked to the tasawwurat within them. And if we have to reimagine economics, we cannot do that in isolation. If there is not a social system to support the implementation of the economic concept that we are looking for, then we wouldn't be successful in doing that, and vice versa. If the social system is there, but the economic system is not there to support it, then it wouldn't get the strength. So we should not divide Islam into the bits and pieces. We should look at it holistically, and all these different streams and themes within the broader systems concept would help us in mutual reinforcement, and the implementation of the overall system. And the tarjih in that regard would be to redefine these aspects, the social side of things, and as we are doing in this course, redefining the economics, Islamic economics. In the same manner, we should redefine the political side of Islam, the social side of Islam, the judicial side of Islam, and then we should identify the linkages between these different streams, and then make a concentrated effort to implement Islam as a whole, udkhulu fi silmi kaffa, so that we can implement it as a whole rather than as ajza of the thing. The other bit is about tarjih, about where to invest our resources as an ummah and where to donate and so on. So in that regard, 4 streams are extremely important. One of them is intellectual superiority, and as we learn from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, and as the Quran asks us to do tafakkur and tadabbur, so that intellectual superiority is extremely important. The second one is the akhlaqi superiority. In terms of if we have to regain the leadership of this world as an ummah, then we have to be at a high level of akhlaq. And how to attain that and would require investment in education and other aspects. So we will need to prioritize that accordingly. Then the economic prosperity. So if we do not have the economic means, it's difficult that we will be able to prosper in the current times. And again, it's a debatable thing. I have met many friends who say that, as Allama Muhammad Iqbal said, that मोमिन है तो बेतेग भी लड़ता है सिपाही, काफिर है तो शमशीर पे करता है भरोसा, मोमिन है तो बेतेग भी लड़ता है सिपाही, which means that if you are a non-believer, only then you would rely on your sword. If you are a believer, then you can fight without the swords as well. And as we saw in the Battle of Badr, it is very right, but it requires a high level of spirituality, which we should all try to achieve. But at the same time, economic prosperity can give us much benefit, like the efforts of Usman Raziyallahu Ta'ala an in terms of supporting Muslims when they were in need. So had he not got that economic prosperity, this situation would have been different. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala made him means for the victory of Muslims. So similarly, we need more Usmans in our community at individual level, but also at the level of ummah. So as an ummah, we should have that economic prosperity. Then technological strength. And as we were having a discussion in the last one about means and outcomes. So this is a mean. And through this mean, we are looking for the aim as mentioned in Surah Al-Hadid, just after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about establishing the system of justice. With that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we send down Al-Hadid. So it's about that as well. So technological strength so that we can make the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supreme. And then the political capital as well. So at the moment, what's happening to the Muslim, it demands that we should prioritize the political unity among the Muslims, and also establishing a state where we can show the practical demonstration of what Islam is all about. At the moment, we say that Islam is this, Islamic economic is this, and we have got bits and pieces of that. As we discussed previously, it's a holistic system. We can try to implement bits and pieces of that and call it that it's economics and so on, but it's only a bit of it, only a part of it. It can never be holistic unless we implement Islam at a holistic level. Then during the study, we also find various enablers. For example, the concept of quality assurance, when the Prophet ﷺ put his hand into the grains and identified some wet grains underneath the dry ones. So there are various enablers, the contracts and the conditions and so on. So we see a stream of that in the concepts or the tasawwurat that we have identified. And then we see the linkage with maqasid. Even those enablers are linked with the greater maqasid. So this is the summary of what we were able to identify. And this is the sort of flowchart that I was building. On the top are the aspects that we discussed. Some of them are core economic aspects. Then we have got social, political, spiritual, psychological, justice and judicial, enablers, and some other basic needs. And then these are the 6 themes that we discussed. Among these themes, we have got these boxes. Basically, these boxes cannot be categorized to one thing. For example, if you look at any one example, let's this one, punishment for withholding mandatory zakat. So there is a punishment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions for withholding mandatory zakat. So this is a judicial side of thing, as Abu Bakr and went to battle with those who stopped giving zakat. So there is a judicial and the state side of things in that, but there's also a spiritual side in that. So all these tasawurat are basically combination. Their roots are combination of various aspects of the overall Islamic system of governance and Islamic system of society and so on. So this is a broad summary, but again, as I mentioned, it's already very small, difficult to see, and yet I have to show the interconnections between these themes, how business and trade links with charity and philanthropy, how prohibited economic activity links with business and trade, and so on. So their mutual relationships are yet to be drawn, and I'm struggling a little bit in that regard because it's difficult to draw on such a big paper. So this is all what I came up with, and some of the tarjihat, as I've already mentioned. So one of the key tarjihat is to udkhulu fi silmi kaffa, entering Islam completely, and to avoid tajzi of the Islamic system. We cannot break it in bits and pieces. We can implement certain aspects of it, but the things would fall apart because the reinforcement is not there from the other aspects of Islam. With this, inshallah, I conclude, and any questions are welcome. Jazakallah khairan.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Nabil. If there are any quick comments from the audience.
Well, thank you very much. Really, I really enjoyed your presentation today, mashallah, starting from the methodology of how you look and do things. You know, it really, you know, you showed exactly what are the steps. So it's a kind of academic look at it. So it just helps us to visualize better what you have done, actually. So it's good, alhamdulillah. And in terms of using the Canva, I mean, how you use this technology just to show these relationships there, it's also excellent. I would not advise, but maybe you could try Kumu.io. Yeah, Kumu.io. It's another software online that where you can build things like this. So it's a good tool that you might want to try. Actually, I would even suggest maybe as a group, maybe we can have one project in Kumu and build it together. So could be, I don't know. I just wanted to share something and really congratulate. Thank you, to you and also all the participants, all the presenters today. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kumu, not Como, it's kumu.ai, I think. Yeah. io.io, sorry. kumu.io, if I'm not mistaken. So you just check it out and see whether it's correct. The Brother Zaid, you are mute. Please unmute.
Wonderful effort, Akhi Nabil. And as you mentioned, like one interesting thing you mentioned, that is the sadaqat, the economy of sadaqat and the economy of mu'amalat. And obviously that they are integrated. The mu'amalat generate sadaqat and the sadaqat generate mu'amalat, and then they feed on each other. And then we end up with like what you beautifully described, it's an infaq economy. Versus holding up economy. I'm going to keep few $1,000s here just to, in case I fall into a hardship, and everybody doing that, and suddenly there's massive amount of wealth is being withheld from circulation, from benefiting people. And another very quick comment that what you said about, so I can spend the money on myself and my family and have immediate material consumption or pleasure. But then there is this other dimension of pleasure that is as every bit real, which is, now we're talking about spiritual intelligence. So, at least this is a concept that sometimes, within the Maqasid Institute, we're trying to, advocate or promote. And spiritual intelligence is that there are dimensions of enjoying this life and this Allah's creation that does not specifically has to be to involve the consumption of materials. It is just that a spiritual experience and seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beauties and in every single aspect of in our creation and all around us. So this is spiritual intelligence. Now, a parallel to that is happening is that we have all this virtual reality, which is somebody who's feeding the imagination, and then we are just sitting there without actually consuming anything. Just we are watching visual images in a 3D or whatever through, and then through a glasses or some kind of instruments. While this is actually built in our brain, that you can, and that's why many of the ulama or the people who are put in prisons, they are in a physical structure, but their brain is free. And they are in that, imagination world of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are different, plane of existence. So if we can revive this as part of this economy, well, that's the reality that we seek for humanity, a better future, a better reality with the spiritual intelligence, that can really help us all, inshallah, restructure and reimagine this economy. Wallahu a'lam. But this is really a beautiful effort, mashallah, that you have done here today. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khair.
And thank you so much for all the presenters to putting all these efforts. With this, we come to the end of our today's session. I think it is natural that when we read Quran, we somehow try to look for some aid from outside to understand it. The activity really was to reflect only on the Quran. When I saw the video by Sheikh Jasir Auda, he says that do not even refer to the hadith for the time being, for this activity. But this is natural. We will slowly and gradually, because first of all, the Arabic is not our first language, translation, and then we try to understand the concept through some aid from our background knowledge and tafsir and hadith. But it is a learning process to just focus only on Quran and then reflect it really will open doors and new things to us. So I hope that we will learn it together and do this activity. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time and for your contributions. With this, I think we will end our session for today. If there is no other announcement or anything, Dr. Ildus.
Well, it's just inshallah, we'll continue our classes. I mean, from next week, and we will concentrate on the book, and chapter by chapter. So each class that we have, we will each module will be concerned with a specific chapter. But of course, together we will connect it with the economic phenomena, inshallah. So the next week, and I hope you have already started, and during the Ramadan also you have watched the videos also in LMS, and you watched the videos by Sheikh Jasir, and also you have the book, or you downloaded the book, at least the electronic version of it. So next week, inshallah, we'll be talking about the limitations of contemporary approaches in economics. So this is where we'll, inshallah, touch upon some theories in neoclassical economics and classical economics and maybe Keynesian. So we'll talk about all of these issues, inshallah. So this is it. And Zaid, do you have anything to add?
I look forward to meeting with you, and please send your presentation, your insight about the Quran Kareem, record it, share it. It is just beautiful. It is important and beautiful for me personally, and inshallah, please share it. I think we're all going to find benefit from this. And may Allah bless you and keep this journey with the Quran Kareem for all of us, inshallah. بعونه تعالى جزاكم الله خير.
We'll also have to thank people who have submitted their presentations, even recordings, and some of you will do the recordings and maybe submit later. Do submit them so that and do that in the group. I mean, in the Telegram chat group, so that all of us can watch them and see and read them. Hear them, and so we can also maybe reflect or maybe comment on some of these. So those who have submitted, thank you very much. Those who have not done it yet, so we expect you to submit something and share with us. And you know, maybe if you have any comments you can leave your comments in the chat group as well. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for the efforts, and may Allah bless you with more beneficial knowledge. And we'll see you next week, inshallah.
سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Yeah. So go, sorry, Sister Ambreen.
Yes,
Go
just
ahead.
to say that let's end our session with Surah Al-Asr.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان في خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر جزاكم الله خير.
بارك الله.
Yeah, Brother Olivier, just a quick comment. I mean, really, everybody here, Mahdi, yes. Just and even maybe Daniel, the same thing goes for you, Oli. Just wanted to, one of the, what we're trying to try to imagine here is what we call, there's vertical and horizontal integration of ideas. So here, vertical is that and the study that we're trying to imagine, for example, that we call it economic phenomena studies. Economic phenomena studies with at least 3 levels. The high level deals like some kind of issues at a macro level, and then there's a micro level, and there is the transdisciplinary wider societal engagement, sociology level, let's say, if that and sometimes very critical with all these terminologies, but like so one of the examples that we mentioned, that if we're talking about there's the money as a phenomena, and so there is monetary theory, there is the financial sector, and there is the people transaction on a daily basis. So that is one construct, one phenomena, and it is kind of this, and you can think of it as a vertical, this sphere of economic thinking. What you touched on is the next one, which is can be a parallel to this that has to integrate with it, which is the labor market. Labor value, what is labor? And it is critical because it's dealing with the human factor here. And for us, that is, humanity is the one, it is the Khalifa on earth. It is, we are the central part really in everything that should be, that is happening, right? But often in mainstream economics, we are just a resource. We are a component in the production process, not the ultimate purpose. Yes, there is utility is measured in terms of this human being, and ultimately the supply and demand is based on this human utility at the end of the day. But it's just, I just wanted to emphasize how important is this work, and that the need for it to become, think about it as a part of this overall system that we are trying to reimagine. Now, Brother Daniel, we start talking about really the capital side of things, perhaps, and with technology and productive resources and this and that, and how does that fit in? So it is another vertical phenomena, the technology phenomena, and easily right now that is dominating everything. And it's like the brother said, like Sidra, it is actually putting its own color on everything we do, right? And then we're forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're just getting the sabr of this technology that is just like a strong, like that flood you saw, and that happened, like it just drive everything, sweeps everything in its path. So this is just one way to imagine this project of reimagining economics and finance. So you can think of, and all of like, what is a macro level of things, what is a micro, and what is just how it impacts everyday's life. And then what are the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, how is this all going to really put it together to reimagine economics and finance? Allahu A'lam. Yes, sorry, I know our time is over, but inshallah we can follow up on conversations. So please, if
Professor
you need
Zaid,
follow-up
as I
conversation, go ahead.